I've done $2 billion worth of single-family residential real estate.
Sheesh.
And played the game where I said, if I can figure out how to scale a game that most people don't know how to play, I can make a name for myself. Basically, riches are in the niches, so go to a niche that no one wants to play in. Most people are like, they do single-family and they graduate to multifamily. And so I just basically said, hey, let's see who can produce the highest ROI in single-family. We figured out that game, and I never graduated to any other real estate because I can't find any other game that has an ROI that high.
Wow.
Beyond that, the last several years I've been in private equity. Sift through thousands of companies every year, find 10 companies that I want to bet on. And so when I'm not investing in real estate, I'm investing in tech and other companies that are insanely disruptive and changing industries. And so I'm enjoying playing that game as well. When it's not that, dude, it's just me and my wife and my 4 kids. I've got an 18-year-old, my youngest is 13, and we've been world schooling for the last 5 years.
Wow.
Meaning took them out of public school and basically hired our own teachers, brought them in and said, you know what, we're going to educate you our way. We're going to customize your education. We don't really believe in college anyway.
Right.
Let's get you educated based on this crazy world that has changed so much. Let's get you prepared for that one.
So you can't send your kids to public school anymore without them being indoctrinated on some BS, right?
100%. That's what we had to get out. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Very smart.
And you're based out of Utah, which is a more conservative state, so that makes sense. Obviously, they still got their head on straight over there, versus the clown world that we see. Because I mean, I wouldn't want to send my kid to public school nowadays to either.
It's scary, man. You got the whole agenda of like wokeness.
The alphabet community.
Yeah,
yes,
that's scary.
Trying to indoctrinate your kid.
Olympics. Well, and when that comes to Utah, that's when you gotta be like, then you gotta be super freaked out. You're like, this is a deeply red state, and that stuff made it here, and I'm like, okay, I'm out. We're not doing it that way anymore.
Yeah.
You seen the Olympics, bro? That ceremony?
It was crazy. No, I looked at that. It was disgraceful.
Dude.
It was awful. Yeah.
And you're Christian based, right?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. So
yeah.
We all feel it.
And a huge religious community in Utah with Mormons. And are you Christian, Catholic?
So I'm Mormon.
Okay,
we
Mormon.
definitely consider ourselves Christian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So real estate, you mentioned that single family homes is your niche, and you also do help with startups, 10 per year. You said that you pretty much
10.
take on, where you fund them, get their business off the ground.
Well, and it's not just syndicating and funding them. You know, we've developed a passion for how to grow companies successfully. So when we find a company that we want to back, often they'll literally house in one of our offices. We'll bring them into our culture. We'll provide leadership training. We'll headhunt their CEOs for them. So we take a hands-on approach to helping grow those companies.
Nice. And you said it's in more industries that are like kind of, you said tech industries that can like really...
Yeah, but also disruptive, right? I mean, tech is usually, SaaS is where you're going to find 30, 40x multiples where you got opportunities for really great growth. And it's also, software is just how you scale. You know, scaling companies is hard, and software allows you to scale like crazy.
Boom. Okay. No. So single family homes, right? People, right, always give residential real estate a bad name. Like, oh, it sucks. It's not worth it. You know, I love Grant Cardone, but he's more doors the better. You know, it's peanuts to deal with single family homes or even residential. He's like, you got to do more doors. You know, 10x. You have a different approach. You're doing the single family home route, which I think is great because I'm in the residential space as well. What is the main reason why you stick to single-family homes and stay away from the duplexes, triplexes, and commercial real estate? You know, in the game of real estate, people get into these debates about strategy. They're like, oh my gosh, are you flipping? What strategy are you leveraging? Are you doing land development, entitlements? And I'm like, you know, every one of those strategies has an ROI associated with it, but it has other vectors that you got to look at. It's like, okay, yes, how much money is it going to make me? But then is it a job or is it passive? So how much time is it going to take? By the way, is it hard or easy? How much risk is associated with it? Does it work in up and down markets? And so I've got 6 different vectors that I look at when I'm looking at all strategies. And the reason why I roll with single family is because for me, I can produce the highest ROI with the least time, the least effort, and the least risk. It works in up and down markets and it provides a service. Yeah. And so, you know, I had Cardone on my podcast and he's like, dude, why aren't you doing multifamily? I said, it's because I like more money. It's called higher ROI. We just completed a 10-year study year over year on our last 2,130 properties and evaluated what is our ROI? What are we making year over year? We're making 60.6% on our money. That's wild.
Damn.
According to rule of 72, that means that I'm doubling my money every 10 months.
Wow.
And it's like, can I do that in multifamily? No. Multifamily's for lazy people. It's like, oh, single family. No, it's for lazy people.
Hey,
it's like,
man. What are you trying to say, Kris?
no, I'm saying that it's like, oh, I got tired because I was figuring out how to scale single family, and I got 25 homes, and I was the landlord, and I was doing all the work, and it was so hard. And you know what? I sold it all, and I rolled it all up, 1031 exchange into multifamily, and then it manages itself with an on-site manager, and you're like, wow, that's so much easier. I'm like, yeah, and what did it cost you? How much of your future did it cost you on the money you're not making because you're lazy? So, you know, to the credit of people out there that do multifamily, it's not just lazy and easier. They just can't figure out how to scale single family. And I always just told myself 20 years ago, if I can figure out how to scale this game, which I don't know anyone that's scaled as big as I have, but if you can figure out how to scale it, then you're going to make way more money than multifamily. And so I basically said, okay, let's take on Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Let's figure out how to scale.
Quantity and volume is like the name of the game if you're going to go in the single family home realm. So there's been talk for years, by the way, and I really want to get your take on this because I think it's actually genius that you do single family homes because it's an asset class that's never going to go away and it's the most required. People always say the real estate market's going to crash, blah, blah, blah. I think last time we spoke, there was something like 5 million homes shortage.
Now it's 6.
It's 6 million.
Yes.
So it's actually went up.
It's gone up. And right now, at the pace that we're going, we're not going to solve this problem for like a decade. And if you look at that, it's like, where are we at with multifamily? Multifamily's overbuilt. That market is softening right now. People are making less money, and it's because we built too much of it. What we really need in this country are the missing 6 million homes. And so anyone that's worried about a bubble bursting, I'm like, the cool thing is, real estate is different than the stock market. Stock market is like, oh, it's an election year. I don't know, how that's going to have an impact on the S&P. No one can control the stock market. Yeah. Real estate, it's literally just supply and demand. It's like, as long as there's a demand for 6 million homes, that market is not going to crash.
Right.
And so, there's 324 markets that make the United States. I invest in the top 5, and I basically track the inventory in those markets. And as long as we have demand for homes, we're not worried about a crash. And that's why we've seen real estate year over year over year since 2008 go up in value. And there's people starting to freak out like with the pandemic. They're like, oh my gosh, 2020, 2021. Each of those single family homes went up $100,000. That's crazy. Like, it can't keep going up because it's not affordable and sustainable. I'm like, I got news for you. It may not be affordable, it may not be sustainable, but it's not going to stop until we build those 6 million homes.
Wow. Okay.
Real estate gets a bad rap right now because the interest rates are high.
Yeah.
Right. It's expensive to get commercial real estate. Office space isn't a thing. And what I've come to realize is, like, people ask me all the time, well, why are you in real estate? Like, the interest rates are high. People aren't renting as much. There's too much inventory, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, and they always say the real estate market is going to crash. But I think they tend to look at like the commercial side versus the residential side because what you do is very specific with single family homes.
Yeah.
And that particular market, there's a huge shortage versus on the commercial side, there's too much. And a lot of these loans are coming up now. Can you explain to the people why the single-family home market is completely different from the commercial world and why people need to stop conflating the two and trying to say it's going to be a crash?
It's weird that people actually do that. At least if you look at multifamily and single-family, it's people that need houses, right?
Yeah.
But commercial is business. Like, that's for businesses, and it is possible to have a softening or a crash of the commercial market, which, frankly, the pandemic created a lot of that problem that we're in right now because a lot of people have figured out, why am I renting this really huge building when people are completely capable of working from home?
Yeah.
That's created a nightmare in that arena. Single family, however, is really just written by supply demand. And when you look at the high interest rates, here's the weird thing, because I have a ton of people, they're like, oh, Kris, I want to invest. And I want to get in that game, but not right now. Rates are high. And I'm like, okay, pause. You don't know what you're talking about. What is the difference between an 8% rate and a 5% rate? Well, you're like, that's 3 points. That's like hundreds of dollars in payments. That's such a big deal. I'm like, did you know in my world that my overall ROI is affected by less than 1% based on that jump in rate? In other words, all it does is affect cash flow. And cash flow is only one of the 4 ROIs, and it's the smallest of the 4 ROIs. It's like, you guys are actually like you're trying to jump over dollars to pick up pennies, and it doesn't make sense because they think, oh, real estate is always about cash flow. And I always tell people in the beginning, if you can get a high ROI and you're broke, because most people get into real estate, not because they want to buy a home and have a $400 a month cash flow. They want that home to turn into 5, and they want that 5 to turn into 15. And eventually it's like, hey, it's like when I was 26 years old, I got 25 homes. They're each bringing in $500 a month. I'm making $12,000. I'm now graduated college. I don't got to get a job.
Right.
Real estate works for me, so I don't need a job. Cash flow is important after your money has grown. But before it's grown, you don't focus on cash flow. You really got to focus in the beginning on being in a place, being in a market where you're going to get maximum growth so that then you have millions to convert into cash flow.